So let's say you do what you love for a living, like every day. You literally get to live your passion on a daily basis. You know, I mean, that in itself is really what success is all about. But something interesting about that is, are you feeding the craving constantly to build that muscle up? Or are you just feeding yourself like a basic, 3 square meals a day just to get by? I would say don't pay attention to the haters and the naysayers who basically are just have accepted an average lifestyle. Those who really want something, if you really want it, you'll figure out how to get how to get the capital, how to get the income to do it, how to get the money to get what you need, right? That's what I'm always doing in the game of in the game of sales, right? That's what I'm always after, right? How do I get what I need to get where I need? It's the tools to get to the place, right? If it's a car and you need to go to a different city, you got to get to the car first before you get to the other city, or you got to get the fuel for the car to get there, right? Tools, location, right? I literally ask, I literally ask somebody, how bad do you want it? How bad do you crave success? Is it something that keeps you, does it keep you awake at night? Are you thinking about it more than the flavor of your coffee? Are you hungry after every meal because you don't have it? Does the stress of not having what you crave drive you fucking mad, right? You know, if so, you're obsessed. And that's not a bad thing, you know. It's not a bad thing to be obsessed at all, right? On the contrary to what others whom aren't obsessed will tell you, oh, you're obsessed with something, you're a control freak. You think to yourself, that's great, as opposed to what, right? If you had, you those who are absolutely obsessed, right? They have something in common with, the Bill Gates, the Richard Bransons, the Elon Musks, the Oprah Winfreys, the Lady Gagas of the world. Take that passion, that hunger, and bite down like a crocodile. Just make it your right. In my line of work, if I weren't 100% confident in my ability to help people, why would I even bother, right? It's called hunger, right? You've got to I've got a colleague who actually uses the metaphor about getting something done. He says, to keep ramming the wall of possibilities, right? Just keep ramming the wall, until it starts to crack and you get the kind of feedback or the kind of turnaround that you're hoping for, right? Remember in the previous shop talk I mentioned Lincoln, right? Lincoln's trying to get shit done 29 years. That's a really long game to be playing to get your way. But you know what? Whose face do you see on Mount Rushmore? And you're going to have to in business and in life, right? You're going to have to weed through a lot of shit. And I mean with utmost sincerity. Let me cram as much emphasis in this as possible, right? As much emphasis as possible. You're going to have to weed through a lot of shit. There's a lot of shit, but at the end of the day, you really have to ask yourself, right? What is your business worth to you, right? What is your passion worth to you, right? If you're willing to weed through all the shit to get to the end game, your desired end game, or per checkpoint, then it's worth a lot to you. If you're not, then you never really cared to begin with. I would say, be an example to others in your industry. Don't just cop out to pay your bills. Be dangerous, right? Most people are, providing the minimal amount of value to get what they need in return. I'm always telling the people that I'm around, step up your game. Do more than the other guy, right? Because my goal is for you to forget who the hell they even are. I don't remember, so why should you? I don't talk about them, neither should you. I'm the only one that matters here, right? One of my favorite phrases to really analyze and break down, many people have heard this across many industries, competition is a good thing. It provides people the opportunity to shop around. It's good for the economy. Oh yeah? You think the CEO of Ford Motors wants you to buy a fucking Nissan? You think the CEO of McDonald's wants you to go buy Wendy's? Do you think Coke wants you to drink Pepsi? The mindset of success, right? Whether people want to admit it or not, revolves solely around market dominance. Otherwise, I'd call people up and tell them how shitty my service is and how awesome my competition is, and to just cut the head off my business right there, right? I'd just guillotine myself. If you make it part of your daily routine to exercise your sales muscle in some facet, right, I guarantee you'll begin to feel way more comfortable in sales. So a few samples, sell or be sold, be obsessed or be average, rich dad, poor dad. Look those up. Take your time, read them, understand the messages, right? So think Sam Zell, right? He's the founder of Equity Group Investments. When he was about 12 years old, he actually began to harness the power of supply and demand, in Chicago, right? He lived in the suburbs of Chicago and would actually venture into the city to the newsstands, which he actually found had a different variety of magazines, which was interesting because the city actually would carry Playboy, whereas the suburbs did not. Now Sam was able to buy the magazine in the city and then rode his bike home, right, utilizing sweat equity. He would then sell the magazines to his friends for $3 a piece, having only paid 50 cents or so for them in the city. Now, fast forward several years later, right? He literally was quoted as saying, "To eliminate the fucking boredom of law school, I started my own real estate business with my roommates." Now, after he graduated from law school, he barely even used his degree. He basically went forward to expand the company he had started while in law school, right? He would basically, he focused more on economics. And guess what? During law school, he basically said he had taken one course in economics, right? So he basically, he utilized just one class of an entire college career. Now, moving forward over to and Peter Thiel, as another example, right? He's the co-founder of PayPal. Actually spoke at Stanford University. He gave a lecture in 2014, right? He gave a lecture in 2014, and the title of this lecture actually was called "Competition is for Losers," right? So, so during this lecture, he actually discussed why startups fail in certain markets, and why starting your company basically as a test group, right, is in an extremely niche market, actually helps create a market share of a small group, leading into brand recognition, which can help build new markets from there. So he also discusses why startups should rethink their strategies and seek to monopolize, which is actually contrary to what other universities teach in economics, all over the nation, right? Because somehow it's easier to become another puzzle piece versus actually creating a whole new puzzle altogether. So my advice for you is to quit pissing around. Spend 0% of your time on things that don't matter, right? Focus on where you want to be in the next 5 to 10 years, and go that direction, honestly, because you weren't born to pay bills and die. Now you got to keep in mind that you also shouldn't be focused on what your perceived competition is doing. Don't feel down and out because you're not doing that, right? Focus on your own end game, because you have to remember that your competition's end game could be something completely different than yours. In addition, they're not stopping you from succeeding.